What's up, guys? I hope you are having a great day. Let's talk about knives. In the early 2000s, I acquired a Benchmade 910, just like this one, and it was a great knife. It came in a shiny blue box with nothing else, and it was medium size with G10 scales that had excellent texture on a titanium frame. The clip was unfortunate. It was tipped down and far from deep carry. The opener was this cool thumb disc that was really easy to reach on both sides for thumb open or a spidey flick, and it served as some jimping when you were using the blade, and I really like that as an opening device. The blade itself was a partially serrated tanto made of M2 steel, which was super cool. I haven't owned any other knives with that steel, and I probably won't again. So that knife just had a touch of class that I think I'm unlikely to reach with the budget tier. The finish on it was this BT2, which is a Benchmade thing. It protected the steel really well, but it showed a lot of wear on it and wasn't my favorite. The action on that knife was an absolute dream. Blade flowed open. There was a weight to it that made it feel like a waterfall when you were opening. The lockup was super solid, chunky, and satisfying, and it just felt inevitable. The lock was a frame lock, which is good, and the fall on it was incredible. It was like a sweeping watch hand. So consequently, the fidgetability of the knife was absolutely top tier. The ergonomics were equally good, and the fit and finish was impeccable. The vibe of the knife was sort of military plus, I guess. It was super utilitarian and obviously purpose built. However, the M2 blade just kind of pushed it into another echelon, I think. I paid $150 for it, and while that was quite a lot for me at the time, I think I got a lot out of that knife. I took it with me backpacking quite a lot, and I really used the hell out of that knife. However, in 2013, it was stolen from me, which made me very sad. And consequently, I kind of swore off expensive pocket knives. And so I started carrying stuff like this M&P folder, which is definitely not the best knife. This also came with a much less shiny box and nothing else, and it is a larger knife. This guy is 5 inches with a 3 and then a ½ inch blade. The scales are this really unfortunate feeling rubber on an aluminum frame, and the clip is also tipped down, but it is at least deep carry. We have a flipper, which has no texture on it at all, and a thumb stud. A flipper and a thumb stud is pretty much my preferred method of opening, but the action on this knife is so bad that it's hard to enjoy either of them. We got a partially serrated drop point blade, which is a very utilitarian blade, and it is in 8CR13 MOV steel, which is a very utilitarian steel. The coating on here is black oxide, and as you can see, it shows wear quite a lot, but it has really protected this blade. I have beat the hell out of this thing over the years, and it still looks in remarkably good shape. This really would be a fine knife, except for a few things. The action on this knife is just abysmal. It's smooth enough, but it's just so tight that you cannot enjoy fidgeting with this knife. So consequently, the fidget factor is extremely low. The lock is a frame lock, and there is no fall to that blade at all. You got to push it all the way down because it is so tight. The bigger problem with the lock, though, is that it juts out into this finger groove such that it is jabbing you in the finger when you grip the knife. Further, when you go to actually use the knife, it pinches your finger between the lock and the liner. So the ergonomics of this knife, which would otherwise be fine, are utter shite. The blade could use a little jimping, but it's amazing how this just ruined what would have otherwise been a very comfortable knife to use. The fit and finish of the knife is fine for a beater knife, except for that one issue. Makes this knife go from a serviceable beater to a piece of crap, really. The vibe on this thing is, I would call it cyberpunk milsim ghetto. It is not my favorite look. However, I only paid $15 for this knife, and I got it with the purchase of using it as a beater, so that doesn't really bother me. This knife now sells for $40, and unless they've improved it drastically, I would not advise you pay that price for it. So in conclusion, this knife is a piece of crap. However, what I really wanted out of it was a sharp in my pocket that I did not care about, and it really fulfilled that goal, if nothing else. And I carried this in like a really similar Browning folder for 10 or 12 years, and that was generally fine. And then Palmetto State Armory sent me this Karambit Neck knife. The sheath for this thing is this really lightweight plastic on a paracord with this little clip that I never use. I just pull it over my head. But the clip itself is incredibly lightweight and has really good retention. So I'm almost glad it's not Kydex because it's just so much lighter. I forget that I'm wearing this thing all the time because it's just so lightweight. The blade obviously is a Karambit or bill if you like, and it is 8CR 13 MOV, which is again great utilitarian steel with a titanium nitride coating that has held up really, really well. The scales are G10, really nicely textured, and they have a really premium feel to them. This knife really shines in two areas. First, it is the world's greatest box cutter. Second, it is an excellent fidget spinner because the tang is milled pretty well flush with the grips there, and it has this little nub and really nice balance. You can spin this thing just endlessly, and it is a very easy, fun fidget. You can go backwards, you can walk it. It is a very safe knife and very fun to play with. And the best thing about it for me is that I can fidget with this thing silently. So with my wife asleep in the other room, if I'm out here clacking a folder all night, I'm going to get in trouble. Whereas with this knife, I can play with it all day long and she will never even notice. So that is excellent. The ergonomics of this knife are fantastic when you're choked up on it for opening a box, which is pretty much everything that I do with this knife. The finger grooves are really comfortable, and this notch gives you excellent control and great grip of the knife. Just makes it turn into a part of your hand, basically. In a full grip, combat grip, if you like, far less control. The lack of a ring or any purchase for your fourth finger there really limits the grip that you get on here, and it's definitely not a fighting knife. However, for my purposes, that doesn't bother me at all, and I absolutely love this knife. The fit and finish of it is perfectly fine. It feels very premium, given that it is a very cheap knife. The vibe of it I would call just utilitarian milsim, and that works. Now, like I say, I got this knife for free, but the MSRP on it is $20, and I think it's worth every penny of that. If you don't have a knife like this, I recommend that you get on your favorite gun or outdoor site and pick up one of these right now. And it's just so fun to fidget with, and just a really fun knife to own. And I think at $20, everybody should give this a chance because, man, is it a great knife. So I've been carrying this thing for 6 months, pretty much daily. It bumped the folder out of my pocket in like 5 days. I realized that it was totally dead weight because I used this for everything. And I pretty much had convinced myself that this was better than any pocket knife. However, I started thinking
more about my old Benchmade, and I thought, man, is this really better than a pocket knife, or is it just better than the crappy pocket knives that I've been carrying for the last 10 years? So I decided that I owed it to my Benchmade to give pocket knives another chance. However, I didn't really know what I was looking for. I had been out of the market for so long, and there have been so many new locking mechanisms and blade steels, all this sort of thing, that I thought that the smartest way to go was to start small and work my way in.
But before I get into that, I want to talk real quick about this rating system. The idea here is to get to my perfect bang for buck knife. So a lot of these categories are very subjective. The only hard and fast scores here are the blade steel scores, and those are coming from Knife Geeks. I just took the same 10-point system that they use and applied it to all the other categories that I thought were important on a knife, and multiplied everything by 10, subtracting the MSRP of the blade, and hoping that that will get us a pretty standardized list to really hone in on at what point your expenditure starts to outweigh your returns.
So I started at the very bottom of the market. So I went to TEMU and I picked up this SOG, which I expected to be a knockoff, but what I now think is a factory fail. The G10 grips feel really good on the steel frame, which feels really solid, smooth, well crafted. The clip is this really nicely milled deep carry configuration, and all in all, this knife feels really good. The opening devices on this knife are twofold, a thumb stud and a really nice flipper with great texture and angle. And the blade is a drop point, which I like quite a lot. It's D2 blade with DLC coating. So, I mean, no complaints there. Really good functional steel and a really strong coating. Black's not really my favorite again, but I'm definitely not mad at a DLC coating. The action on the knife is where it starts to fall apart. The open isn't terrible. Obviously, the flipper doesn't work great. Occasionally, you can get it to work, especially if you put some wrist into it. The Spidey flick is fine because it's open so fast that you don't notice the gravel. And the thumb flip is okay. You can feel the gravel as you're starting to launch. The close is where this thing really falls apart. The crossbar lock is extremely sticky up top, and then when it's fully disengaged, the blade catches on the mechanism there. So you can't, there's certainly no fall until you get it all the way there and just let off. The all of the failings in this knife are right here in this crossbar, and I really do wonder if somebody who knows more about the inner workings of a knife could fix this thing and make it a really good knife, because it feels like the all the parts are here to make a very good knife. This crossbar mechanism is just such a problem. If you find the Goldilocks zone, there's like a little tiny gap here where if you close it, it'll fall all the way. The ergonomics of this knife are really good. This short blade clip, even though it sticks up kind of far, doesn't dig into your hand. Really comfortable milling and everything. The little half choil is nice. The jimping on the blade is really sharp. That's my only real problem with the ergonomics, aside from the fact that that lock mechanism is sticky and doesn't work at all. The fit and finish of the knife, I mean, I would never have guessed this was a TEMU knife until I tried to open it. And if you were to be able to get that crossbar mechanism so that it didn't impede this thing and make it feel like a bag of rocks, I would definitely have no doubt that this was a legit knife. So fit and finish, it definitely passes that test. The vibe of the knife is just a utilitarian, milsim, very standard knife. And, that's what you're looking for in a cheap beater knife like this. I paid $12 for this, 15 shipped, and I think it was probably worth that, I guess, especially if this is really D2 steel. I will probably keep this in a kit just to be able to pass it off to somebody because I really do feel like it is a perfectly good knife once you get it open. I also appreciate that it taught me that I do want a satisfying and fun pocket knife that is better than this. So I'm gonna say that the experiment was a success, even though this particular knife is a fail. So then I went to Amazon during the Father's Day sale, and after doing some research, I was pretty sure that I wanted a Civivi, but I was unsure if I wanted a Praxis or a Vision. And the thing that eventually sold me was the Damascus on the Praxis, which is kind of funny, as we'll discuss here in a minute. But I did indeed pick up the Praxis. This is the upgraded Damascus and aluminum scale model, and I really wish these scales had a little bit of texture on them. I think that it would be much less slidey in hand with just a little bit of milling on this face. Now, the frame is the scales, so obviously that's aluminum, and the clip is a really nice deep carry and tip up. So I really like this. They say it's a reinforced clip, and I believe it. It feels really strong. The sole opener on the knife is a flipper. Obviously, it has really nice jimping, and the last tooth is really easy to catch your finger on and just pop that blade right open. Now, the blade shape is a really nice long drop point. This is a big knife. The handle is 5 inches and the blade is 4. So this is quite a bit bigger than what I really want to carry in my pocket. However, look at that blade. This is 9CR, 10CR Damascus, and man, is it pretty. I just can't get over it. The action on this knife is really nice on the open, silky smooth, where the Benchmade opened like the flowing of a waterfall. This is glides like the wind. It is such a satisfying knife to open. The acoustics are a little metallic and plinky, but man, does it feel good. It's so smooth. The close is a little less satisfying with the button lock here. There's just no friction, so unless you catch the blade, it does bang, and the acoustics of that are not very satisfying. The fidgetability of this knife is very high, despite the less than satisfying close. It just feels so good to open that I could do it all day long. The ergonomics of the knife are great. You got really deep jimping on the base of the spine here, a full choil, and these really nice finger grooves in the handle. So once you get this thing open, it is not moving. I do wish, like I say, there were a little texture on here for the pull and deploy portion of the program. Plus, I just think it would look nice. But all in all, the ergonomics on this knife are excellent, and I have no complaints at all. Also, the fit and finish are additionally excellent. Every curve, edge, and decision seems really intentionally made, and this knife feels really good in hand. I would call the vibe of this knife a gentleman's flipper, which I quite like. It's just such a pretty blade. However, my issue with this knife is the same thing that I love about it. Because the blade is so pretty, I am afraid to use this knife because I know that I will scratch it up doing knife-related tasks. And while I conceptually know that that is stupid for a tool, I can't help it. I am who I am, and I do not want to see scratches running across that sort of black marbly surface. So this was probably not the best purchase for my first real pocket knife in 15 years. However, it is really fun to fidget with, and it is really pretty, so I'm not too mad. Basically, this lives in front of my computer, and when I'm waiting for something to happen, I just pick it up and enjoy it. However, because I know that I am not going to use this knife, I thought that the Father's Day sale still going on Amazon was my best chance to get an idea of what I really do want in a pocket knife. So I spent a little less money on a few more knives, and in the next installment, we will check those out to see if any of them can compete with the current leaders in the clubhouse. So, if you've enjoyed this, please give me a like. It lets me know that this content's resonating, and I would really appreciate that. If you want to see the next installment, please hit that bell. And if you want to participate in this little experiment, please get into the comments and give me your best bang for buck knives, the $50, $100, $150 price points, so that I can start looking for them and see if I can find them at a great price so that I can bring them in here and we can check them out together and see how they stack up. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Don't forget we're all in this together, so be excellent to each other and be good to yourself as well.